Hey everybody, you are joining me for a draft in progress. I forgot to hit the record button, my bad. But we're a few picks into this Modern Horizons draft. I first picked a Savage Swipe over Reprobation because I like green better than white. And we got back-to-back Pyrophobias and Orscale Guardian. Got a big dragon. So we got a lot of red cards. Our other color is still pretty much wide open. But Savage Swipe is a sweet one. Spinehorn Minotaur is a nice card to Savage Swipe because it goes straight up to 5 toughness. So it can eat a 4/4. So we got the Big Daddy Marasa Behemoth, or we can stick with some red cards. What you missed, I passed an Unearthed Sliver and a Flying Haste Sliver. I don't expect the Flying Haste one to come back around, but the Unearthed one might. So I'm going to take the Cleaving Sliver. I don't really want a 4-mana 4/2 in my deck, but if I get even a few other slivers, it'll probably be great. Alright, here we got another Spinehorn Minotaur. The other options are Diabolic Edict or Carrion Feeder, but I want to stay on color here. Stay on plan. The Quakefoot Cyclops Spinehorn Minotaur combo is good for a lot of damage. We get to cycle to make a creature unable to block and then crunch with Double Strike. Another Cleaving Sliver. There's the Dragscape Sliver, the Unearthed Sliver. This is the pack I opened. So the rare sliver is gone. Reprobation is the best card in this pack, I think. Like it's just a removal spell, and it went all the way around, showing that either nobody likes white or white is open, which might be the same thing. So I'll just take that. Here, let's get some pressure on in the 2-drop slot. The red-green deck is pretty good at finding 2-drops, and I always want to cast a spell on turn 2, and I always want to cast 2 spells on turn 4. That's my plan here. So Geomancer's Gambit, a Stone Rain is not really what you want, but this card is secretly better than it looks because it puts a land into your graveyard, and there's a lot of red and green cards that care about having lands in your graveyard. We have one already in this Orscale Guardian. And Geomancer's Gambit also draws a card, which turns on all of our, if you drew 2 cards this turn, effects. So that might just end up in the sideboard. It is not a great card, but it is a role player that it can make the deck. It could still happen. I'm not going to take Ayula's Influence. Not over a good trick. Like triple green. Look at the way our colors are distributed already. Like triple green is basically uncastable. Alright, here's a bunch of playable white cards just in the very dregs of the pack. So white might be open here. Mirrodin Besieged. This card is not playable in Limited at all, unfortunately. So, Goblin Matron. We don't have any other goblins yet. Volatile Claws is not a good card. Wall of 1,000 Cuts is not where I want my first pick to be. Cape of Temptation is playable, and it's a land that has some text later in the game. But Trumpeting Herd is 2/3/3s. So that's going to be my pick here. Rhyme Tender is a green 2-drop, but I have no snow theme, and I don't want to try to get into it. And my hesitation on the Trumpeting Herd was double green in this deck that may or may not even be green. Alpine Guide is great, That ramps you if they don't kill it, and it puts a land in your graveyard if they do. And it's a 3 mana 3/3 either way. Hoping to see that Quakefoot Cyclops come back around, because that is one of the juiciest commons for these aggressive red decks. Here we have Blade Black Sliver as a 2-drop, but I'm slamming this 4 mana 5/5 straight into my pile. So we got another Minotaur and Goat Nap, which is not a card we want early. There's a Snow Mountain if we care about that, but I don't think we do. Treetop Ambusher is a sweet one. Haste creatures, that's 3 power, surprise 3 power onto the board, and this deck wants to be aggressive. And that's a very good reason to start looking at green as a real color we want to play. So this rare is not playable. There's a Regrowth, another Gambit, and a Lava Dart in this pack. I'm not super stoked about any of them, but they all have roles to play. If I knew that my deck would be just balls to the wall aggressive when I'm done drafting it, I'd want the Lava Dart. But if we play any sort of mid-range or grindy plan, Regrowth is going to be better. Alright, so now we check the curve because we have multiple cards in this pack that are great. We have the Cyclops and the Minotaur, which are the 1-2 punch that this deck wants many copies of both. We have a Cyclops floating around that we might get on the wheel. You want to fill in your curve, so I'm going to take the Minotaur here. Unfortunately, we can't slam this on-color mythic. It doesn't actually have any text. Pillage, destroying artifacts or lands, pretty cool, but there's a Treetop Ambusher in this pack. Like I said before, this card is awesome, and I'm excited to have another one. Ooh, a Sand Sprinter. I like this card. This thing surprises your opponent for 4 damage, trample haste, and it has cycling, so it can turn on our Spinehorn Minotaurs. I don't think I'd play more than one, but I'm happy to have the one I do. This is an easy Cave of Temptation. That might have text. Cyclops on the wheel. Rewarded. Yeah, there are no cards for us in this pack. Minotaur, our faith is rewarded. Another Gambit. I'm not playing 2 of those, but there it is. Alright, going into pack 3 here, I want 2 drops. I want to make sure I'm always on board and always playing from ahead. Conifer Worm, I don't have any kind of snow theme. Ruination Rioter is just what I'm looking for. I would not be upset with Tempered Sliver, Elvish, or a Spring Bloom Druid on the wheel. But this Ruination Rioter, and there's a Quakefoot Cyclops too. This pack is full of good ones for us. We're likely to wheel something. But I'm slamming this 2-drop in. The only cards in this pack are Lesser Masticore and Winding Way, and I think I want Winding Way for this kind of deck. Masticore is really good, but I'm not going to play to a game where I have 4 mana to just throw around and ping things. Like, I want to make my opponent dead. Dragonheart's pretty strong. Reckless Charge, I like having one of those available to me, but there's also a Cyclops. Yeah, so that gives us 4 Minotaurs, 3 Cyclopses. That's the bread and butter. Oh, Mama Bear or Twin Silk Spider. I like Mama Bear because that thing attacks for 2, and then later it attacks for 4. Twin Silk Spider is better in a more defensive kind of deck. Alright, here we have an easy Orca Shellraiser. That's a 2-drop. It's reach. When it dies, it deals 2 to a player. Like, we got 4 Minotaurs. Let's just fill in these 2s. I might even get Minotaur back the way this draft has been going. Ooh, Aria of Flame. I don't think we have enough spells. So to undo the 10 life you give them, you have to cast 4 spells, and you start netting damage on spell number 5. Currently, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells in the whole deck, so we're not doing that. I'm just going to put a Goat Nap in my sideboard. Collector, oof, it's a 2-drop. That may or may not have any text, but I'm certainly not playing any artifacts, and it's a 2-mana 2/2. I'm in. Just going to jam Tornado in the sideboard. There's a Snow Mountain there, but I don't even have any reason to want that. Yeah, there's nothing in here. So I'm just going to put Volatile Claws in the board. I don't expect to ever buy back Elvish Fury, but a pump spell is going to be good. We got a Reckless Charge. I'm going to put that in the sideboard for now. I'll put Shenanigans in the board. This is a Phantom draft. Don't worry about that rare. Alright, so we're in deck build. You'll see that I already cut Regrowth and Trumpeting Herd, because I want this deck to be a lot more aggressive than that. On turn 4, I want them to be mostly dead, and flurry haste creatures or pump spells at them, not make a 3/3. And I don't think we're going to have time to regrow anything either. Not if things go to plan. I'm just here to bash. The Sliver gets the cut. Like I said, I don't want a 4/2 for 4. I have 0 other Slivers in the deck. I'm going to cut one of these Gambits. Those are all the cards that can let me draw a second card in a turn. There are currently 6, and I'm not going to need that many. So one of the Gambits definitely is getting cut. I like that Sand Sprinter has a lot of good text on its own. We actually ended up with enough 2-drops that I can cut Collector Oof. It is the worst among them. There goes Gambit. And that's 23 cards. That's the right number. So Magic Online, trying to tell me I only need 5 forests. But Magic Online just counts the number of symbols. It doesn't give curve consideration. And I want green early so I can make sure to cast my 2-drops on time. I think that I probably even want another one. I'm not going to do that yet, but I have a feeling we're going to sideboard out a mountain for a forest a lot. All right, round 1. We got Mother Bear, Ruination Rider, Ravenous Giant. This hand looks exactly like I want hands in this deck to look. I'm going to have a play on turn 2. I'm going to have a play on turn 3. I'm going to have a giant creature on turn 4. And then if I draw a 5th land, I get to Cyclops them to dead. And if I don't draw a 5th land, I can just cycle the Cyclops and play another 2-drop. So Orca Shellraiser, it was a good draw here because I get to play it on 2. And paying its Echo is not going to cost me on curve because I was taking turn 3 to cast a 2-drop anyway. So paying its Echo is mostly free here. Unless I draw Alpine Guide, basically. But even if I do, I got 2-drops. I'm going to be using all my mana. No big deal. I drew a 3-drop, not even mad. Got 2s for days. I'm going to offer this trade. I need to make this thing a 1-1 eventually. And a deck that has Putrid Goblin in it probably wants to sack it for fun and profit, so I just denied their Dragonheart in activation. I denied their Carrion Feeder a counter. They took 2 on the way out. And now all of my creatures are bigger than this 1-1. Best draw on my deck's of land. Just shove a 5/5 on the stack. Ding. Attack first. Before they know I have a 5/5, I want to offer them the opportunity to waste a pump spell or removal spell on this 2/2. They wisely did not take the bait. Remember, folks, your life total's a resource. Alright, a Scavenger. This thing is a prime juicy target for a cycled Quakefoot Cyclops. They made a 3/4. There's no way they're going to attack here. Yeah, I think they should have just not exploited. Because the Scavenger gets the counter whether they exploit or not. Anytime a creature dies, it gets a counter. And if you're not going to attack, you don't care if it has haste. So, should have kept that Goblin back. Alright, so I'm investing in the future here. I decided to play Spinehorn Minotaur and try to crunch for 1,000,000,000 with a cycled Cyclops next turn. And if I draw land, I can just cast Cyclops and make 2 creatures unable to block. Rank Officer is pretty good here. It's going to cost them a card in hand. We'll see if they care about that. Alright, they did not discard. Interesting. Their hand must be good. Speaking of good hands, can make one of these unable to block and make the other one dead. Draw a card along the way. Give my Minotaur double strike. Oh, Ambusher is going to be big later. They're about to take a bazillion, and then this Ambusher should be able to mop up whatever's left of their life total after this turn. This is also lethal if they have nothing. Right, they had Defile. Alright. Not lethal, but they are at 4, and I have a haste creature. Uh-oh. Suddenly 3 blockers. That's probably among the best cards they could have there, because they get to chump for a few turns and grow their Scavenger. They get to start crunching with this giant flyer. And every time they block, it's going to get bigger. The second Ambusher, but like I said in deck build, we don't have double green. So having double green for the ability to double spell in the mid game is going to be important. We definitely want another forest in this deck. Like I have 4 2-drops in hand and 4 mana, but can only cast 1 spell this turn. I'm going to see what happens in this combat and save the Ambusher for next turn. And play the Rioter. Winding Way is really good in this deck because not only does it refill your creatures, but it puts lands in your graveyard. It's one of a small number of ways we have to actually do that. Because Orskull Guardian, like one of these things is not like the other. One of these things costs 7. Well, I expected a chump here at least on the Mother Bear. They are fearless. So now I get to play a third lethal threat, and then I can present another lethal threat with haste next turn. And if I draw a forest, I can present 2 lethal threats with haste next turn. Ooh, Sinkhole, that's a good card. Alright, so they have Defile and Sinkhole we gotta watch out for in any subsequent games we play. They're Convoking. Feaster of Fools. Alright, so they have another Giant Flyer to go with their first Giant Flyer. If they attack, they're dead, unless they have another Defile. They have to attack here, though, just as a rule. Because I'm dead on board now if I can't kill them. Alright, the Ambusher means that Defile's not even out anymore. Now we just got him. They don't even have 2 cards in hand for force of 2/3 ones, whatever the red one's called. Couldn't even do that if they had it. Yeah, double green's kind of important. Imagine if we had that earlier. So I'm considering Reckless Charge, but we saw 2 instant speed removal spells. So I don't love dumping pump spells into creatures that could die at instant speed. Goat Nap could be good though. If they showed me 2 giant flyers, like if they try to turtle up behind a devour creature or a scavenger, I could just take that and crunch them for 4 or 5. Cutting the dragon, that's really slow. Here's the forest. Alright, we got a 2, a 3, and a cycle. A fake 3. It's like a 3 that's also a 4 and a 5 and a 6. Alright, there's Carrion Feeder. So we're going to have to watch out for getting Goat Nap to this game. That Goat Nap is just a removal spell now that they have a feeder in play. Though I boarded in my Goat Nap, so Goat Nap is a removal spell on Carrion Feeder too. So it works both ways. Alright, the curve's filling out. Happy to see that actual 3-drop. So I will block so fast if they attack here. That would be a 2-for-1 all day. They recognize that that is the case. Deciding if I want to offer the trade before they pay Echo or not. I don't want to offer the trade because if this Alpine guide sticks around, then I'll be able to cast Quakefoot Cyclops next turn and just mash through these blockers. And Carrion Feeder can't block anyway. But even if they play something, try to turtle up, they're just going to take 5. Alright, they had the Defile. Bummer. Right on time. That didn't cost us anything, though. I mean, it's a 1-for-1. And now we have a land in the graveyard for things that care about that. Well, there's Goat Nap. We could clear out this Carrion Feeder. It's going to be better to get a add to the board, though. I probably just want to attack first because I have Elvish Fury. Like, I'll offer the eat on that Hellraiser. And Mama Bear is just not the worst card that you could have die. Yeah, they don't even blink. No blocks. Oh no, the combo. So we're going to take 2 here from our own Minotaur, and then they're going to eat it. I think it's going to be time to Goat Nap this feeder. Turn off future Goat Naps from them. It's such a huge swing when they do that. The sacrifice deck is so cool when it comes together. Yeah, so if they're smart, they'll sacrifice feeder in response because it's going to die anyway, and this just keeps them from taking 2. Yep, straight up dead. Yep, I'm never not attacking. They have a higher life total than me, but whatever. I got haste and unblockability in my hand, ready to rock. Alright, we're both here to smash. Nobody's blocking. Everyone's attacking. Ooh, do we think they learned from game 1? They did. Yeah, they don't have to exploit their creature. They can just have a 2/3. That's good enough. Alright, drawing a Minotaur there was nice, because now I get to serve with Bear and leave up Elvish Fury and also develop a 3-drop. So now we have Sand Sprinter and Cyclops and Fury and Minotaur ready to attack. They could take a lot of damage very quickly. If they put their shields down even a little bit, they could just get crunched for a bazillion. Yeah, so they did something kind of smart here. They've been playing around the pump spell all game. Like, they just never blocked my 2/2 with their 2/3 or anything. But now is a good time to try to flush it out because I'm on defense. I'm sure they would rather have me use this now than deal an extra 2 damage to them on their turn when we're in such a tight race. And I'm pretty comfortable trading it for Sinkhole too. Like that, I'm cool with that. Ooh, the Scavenger is a 2/3. That's boltable. And the 2-drop theme of the deck coming in clutch here. We haven't hit a 5th land drop. It's turn 7 and we don't have a 5th land. But we've still been able to double spell multiple times on every turn. So the Sinkhole and the Defile are both out of the way. Those are the removal spells we know about. Oh, they switched to blocking duty. It's time to go for the throat here. This is a good spot for Sand Sprinter, because if they want to stop that 4 repeating haste damage from coming in, they have to lose an actual creature and leave me with actual creatures in play. Yeah, so they just took a ton of damage. And they had to, but they are looking pretty dead. So if I draw a land, I can make whatever they cast next turn unable to block, and then sprint right in there. And if they just draw nothing, they're dead to Sprinter. Alright, so 4 damage with Trample, plus a 2-power creature that can also attack. Plus Treetop Ambusher, which is an extra 3 power, and we can make this thing unable to block. Our hand is just a bevy of riches, all of which kill our opponent. We did it. All right, we're here for round 2. Got the mono 2-drop hand again. Just like we drew it up. I'm going to lead on Rioter if nothing else changes. And it's pretty cool that Ambusher costs the same amount that it costs to dash. Like a lot of dash creatures. Ooh, Altar. What are you doing with that, opponent? Would you like to fill my graveyard with lands? Yeah, I was saying that a lot of the cards with dash have different costs. Like it costs more to dash them or less to dash them based on what text, other text they have. Ambusher is just a 2-drop either way. I'm into it. Ooh, my opponent took their second and third turns doing nothing. They cast Altar of Dementia when they have no creatures, and then they missed their land drop. It's time to get crunchy. Gonna play Alpine Guide right on time. If they can't if they can't deal with the guide this turn, I get to Sand Sprinter and Ambusher next turn for a surprise 7 damage out of nowhere. Oh, Cycling Crows and Tusker. You're going to be disappointed in the result of that, my friend. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're going to be at 6 at the end of my 4th turn. I still have a removal spell and my 2 haste creatures. Oh, and a giant. Whew. What do you get for the man who has everything? So I'm sure their deck is very cool. It has Altar. It has at least 4 colors. There might be a snow theme here, but these sorts of decks, the unsexy, crunch your opponent for a bunch of damage decks, tend to be very good against the contraption decks. And they're just dead. They don't even want to play another turn. Alright, I'm not going to bring in a Shenanigans to deal with Altar. I can't imagine caring about that card. Reckless Charge is probably going to be pretty good here, as blue-green are not great at answering things at instant speed, so I might be able to get some surprise huge crunches in off this Reckless Charge. I'm going to cut Gambit because if they are a mill deck, not going to need any help getting lands into my graveyard. Right, so I'm definitely keeping this hand, but Hellraiser, like we saw in game one or match one, Hellraiser with another 2-drop to follow up doesn't mess with your curve. Hellraiser with a handful of 3-drops totally messes with your curve. So I'm going to hope to draw another 2-drop in the next 2 draw steps. If I draw one next turn, I can play that card instead of Hellraiser and then cast a 3 on time. If I draw one on the following turn, I can pay Hellraiser's Echo and make a 2-drop. Alright, looks like we're raising hell. I'm not going to skip a turn of development to cast a 3-drop on time. Like, let's just get this 3-power creature into play against their Dirtle deck that we're not quite sure what it does yet. We just know it has Corrosive Tusker and Altar of Dementia in it. Ooh, Snow Explosion. Oh, they got a land and a crab. Alright, so they might be a genuine mill deck. I can't wait for Ruin Rider to deal 6 to them later. I hope that is how this game ends. Just a lethal Ruination Rider. Alright, so that's not a 2-drop, but it does make turn 4 pretty spicy. I get to charge recklessly with one of my 3s. There's the Snow Crab. They milled me with a land I didn't know about yet, so they're still holding a forest. There goes a land. My Rider and my Dragon have gotten better already. So I don't think I'm going to Reckless Charge here. I can set up for an even bigger following turn. Like, if all they have is an 0-4, these 3-power creatures are going to crunch through eventually. Alright, they're not afraid of Lava Dart. Oh, that's why. Sure, the old defensive Elvish Fury. I'll take that. So that Hellraiser got in for 3, shot them for 2 on the way out, and sniffed a pump spell out of their hand. Yeah, deal. All day deal. Oh, they milled Mother Bear. Thank you. Old 1 for 0. The red-green deck is a dangerous deck to be on the mill plan against. They love having a graveyard full of stuff. So this turn I can cast Spinehorn Minotaur, Reckless Charge it, and cycle Sand Sprinter to have a 5-power double strike creature. Ooh, that's a little awkward. This big bird's going to blink my guide, which causes me to sack a mountain now, and then I'll get another mountain at the end of the turn. So there's another land in the graveyard. Not upset about it. That does take me off my my master plan. Yeah, we didn't draw another land to follow up. I'll just kill this bird while the getting's good. Cast Winding Way. I'm sure my opponent is like, wow, thank you, you just milled 4, but I don't care. I still think their life points are going to be gone before my deck points are. I'll go 3 lands straight to the bin. That dragon's going to cost 2 when I draw it. We get our mountain back. Pretty sure there's some left. Well, that's a big creature. Gonna have to figure out a way to bash through an 8/8. We got the Quakefoot Cyclops. I can attack for 3 now. Or I could deploy 2 creatures and try to Quake my way through in the future. I could also offer the trade with this Reckless Minotaur. There's a lot of ways to play this turn. I would not fault anyone for just casting their 2-drop also. I'm going to try to get in. I would trade Minotaur for the Sand Sprinter in my hand and that 8/8. I only took this aggressive line because Alpine Guide had to attack anyway. Like that card, that's just text on the card, has to attack. If it didn't have to, and I could have just played my 2-drop and waited a turn, I would have done that. But I want to push where I can here. So I may have messed that up. Like, they just took the safe block on Alpine Guide. Like, I could have put them to 5 there with a cycle. I'm willing to believe that was a punt. But we still have Sand Sprinter. So hopefully we can still get over this finish line. All right, Nantuko Cultivator with no discard. Just a 2/2. 4 mana 2/2. I'll take it. Oh, they're getting frisky with their 8/8. I guess they got to win this game eventually. All right, 5th land, clutch. Let's get this Cyclops out here. Put him to 8. They could be at 3 if I took the line I did last turn. I think I would prefer them at 3 with this Hellraiser in my hand. But the past is the past. Gotta live in the now. I have a 4/4 in play, and I still have a 4/1 haste in hand because I didn't cycle it. Uh-oh, red mana. What is this gonna do? Oh, we see the Volatile Claws in their graveyard. What the hell? Oh, Reap the Past. The old draw 5. Notably, that did take all the lands out of their graveyard, though, so Behemoth is down to a 5/5. I can rumble with that. Oh, Savage Swipe. That was a good draw. Yeah, swiping Minotaur clears out one of these blockers. Now let's clear out the crab. That absorbs the most trample damage. That's why I went with that. And this is a good turn to push with Sand Sprinter. Because if they want to clear the Sprinter, it means they're going to take 2 trample. And I could Hellraiser with Reckless Charge next turn. Alright, I could also cycle Sand Sprinter to trade with the Behemoth. Yeah, so let's get this Behemoth out of here while it's still a 5/5. And I can play Minotaur now and then Hellraiser or Ambusher with Reckless Charge next turn. Yeah, they only have 7 cards in hand, don't worry. But we got rid of their biggest thing we're worried about. We know the Ice Bird is back in their hand. The Blizzard Strix, I believe the name of that card is. I think 2 forests. Alright, so they have 1 forest and the bird in their hand. Chili Pilly. They have Elvish Fury back in their hand too. Man, Reap is a good card. Oh, another Glacial Revelation. That drew them only Alpine Guide. Yeah, their deck's really sweet. I hope we crush them. Yeah, that's the thing about sweet decks in Limited. Sometimes you just get beat up by red-green aggro. Alright, so I'm going to bait out the Elvish Fury here. Because even if they pump it, they still lose their Chiller Pillar in combat. And if they don't pump it, they just lose. So they have to block the Cyclops this turn because it's the most damage and they're not going to be able to trade with it on future turns. So I'm going to have Ambusher pump itself here. Either itself or Minotaur are both fine because you just can't pump the Cyclops because they're going to block that one anyway. And then next turn, this puts them to 3. We still have the Dasher ready. And we have Hellraiser plus Reckless Charge still hanging out over there. We're probably just going to have to Reckless Charge right into the Strix, though. It's hard to play around that card. It is a 3/2 flash flying. There's that guide we knew about. So that creature has to attack. So it's not going to be a very good blocker if we just are a little patient. Don't have to attack into it. Oh, we got swiped. The Fair and Swear just fight. Didn't even get to bear up. Oh my god. As ordained, so it shall be. 8 lands in my graveyard. My opponent's at 3, and their creature has to attack next turn. So I'm going to Reckless Charge this thing, force the bird, but then my rider is going to come right back and block this Alpine Guide that has to attack. So they're very dead. Unless they can somehow give their Strix +9 power next turn to kill me with their 3 cards in hand. Yeah, I had to go for the haste there because if I don't, they can just Strix in my end step and then they get a whole turn not having to worry about Rider. But now it's right there to block. Like they have to work their way through this or die. Again, we're suffering from a single green source here. I should definitely have another forest in this deck. Right, how big can we get this bird? We've seen Volatile Claws in their deck. They could have some explosiveness here that is a little weird. It is weird to have Iceberg, Cancrix, and Volatile Claws in the same deck. Hey, making a land drop's good. That's one less card they can have to kill me. Reckless Charge. Ooh, that's +6. If they have 3 more, we're dead. Or a removal spell. Good thing we had Reckless Charge, because this is 12 if they were able to exile Ruination Rioter on my end step like they would have preferred to. Alright, well, here goes everything. Their 1 card in hand better be good. Oh, straight to the dome. Nice mill deck. Take 8. GG's. Oh, we won a die roll. That's nice. Oh no, our first mulligan of the day. Again, punished for not having enough green sources. Alright, this is mostly the same hand with a green source, so I'm going to keep it. Put that dragon straight on the bottom. Cool thing about this limited format is that I have some shuffle effects in my deck, so I can get dragon back into the mix. A lot of the times in limited, if you bottom a card, it's just gone. Like, unless you play to the last card in your deck, you're not going to see that again. It's not a given that that formats have shuffle effects in them. This one does, though. Ooh, we got turn 2 Treetop Ambusher. And we can Savage Swipe something if they do it next turn. Just get to clear a creature and attack for 5 on turn 3. I like that. Boo, hiss. That's 2 creatures. Not cool, opponent. Alright, I would have preferred a land, but Pyrophobia is fine. It doesn't feel good hitting a persist creature with Pyrophobia. But I'm going to save the swipe for later. And just turn this into a 1/1 that I can attack into now. Didn't block. It's another red-black deck, so they probably have some cool ways to use that 1/1 body. Yeah, there's a Dragonheart. So they can make themselves a 4/4. Build your own 4/4. I cannot attack well into that. Sand Sprinter can attack into it, but sure, I'd rather build my board. Spinehorn Minotaur, like I said earlier, being a 2/3, it becomes a 4/5 when you Savage Swipe. So it can just bash right into a 4/4. Just punch it real hard. So we have a nice turn lined up next turn. We can swipe this Dragonheart even through an activation. Oh, Ransack the Lab. That does not add to the board. I like that. And if we draw a land, we can punch the Dragonheart and also Sand Sprinter. Just crush right in for a lot of damage. Yeah, it looks like they have a red-black engine here, like Graveyard Matters, sack stuff. Hopefully we can just mash right through it. That's always the plan. Oh, we drew the land. Alright, so it's time to punch this Dragonheart and then get in for 11. And the really great thing about this fight is that if they sacrifice, it's a 2-for-1. If they don't sacrifice, my Minotaur only has 2 damage on it, not 4. So it can attack fearlessly into this 1-1. When I attack, I'm going to pump the Ambusher to protect it from Putrid Goblin, because that's worth more long term than the Sand Sprinter. Like, they're going to take 3 trample anyway. I'll just take my Lava Spike. That comes with a built-in removal spell. They're taking 10 this turn. They're taking 10 if they want to answer the Sand Sprinter, and they can take 7 instead if they want to just let me continue to have Sand Sprinter on subsequent turns. So they're in a rough spot here unless they have some extra tricks or removal. They opted for the taking 10 plan. We still have Winding Way to reload too. Right, that card is a lot less scary when they don't have a free creature to sack. Bummer, I spoke too soon. We got napped again. Yeah, that was way worse than them just having a Putrid Goblin. Oh, the Rioter. The old Zero Lands Rioter. But I can cast Rioter this turn and Winding Way for creatures next turn, and possibly hit some lands for the Rioter. Putting my opponent to 4 right now, unless they have a Defile. I'm not convinced their attack was correct. Like, it was certainly cool to steal my thing and crunch me for 4 out of nowhere, but maybe it would have been better just to have a 2/2 on D. Vengeful Devil. What do you do? Alright, yeah, they don't have a 3rd creature, so they can't get Morbid. A Winding Way pre-combat. Hope to mill some lands, give this Rider some extra juice. Hit 2 lands. Alright, we got a built-in shock now. Alright, Alpine Guide's a sweet one too. It's a 3/3, and if they kill it, it upgrades the Rider. Ambusher is going to pump itself because the Dragonheart can kill whatever it blocks regardless. But if I pump the Rider, then Vengeful Devil has an easier block. Like, I want that just to be absorbing damage. And if they block the Rioter, the shock kills the Dragonheart on the way out. And if they don't block the Rioter, they go to 2, and I have 2 lands in my graveyard. So the Rioter essentially becomes dead if you block and dead if you don't block. Oh, right, they block. They don't go to 2. I lied. And Rider is a really good card if you can get a couple lands in your graveyard. I'm impressed. Well, if they don't have a creature, Dragonheart is not a good card if it doesn't have fuel. Alright, so now they're in the position I described last turn of if they block Rider, they die. Right, they must have a removal spell here, because this is just lethal if they don't. Okay, they had a mob. Alright. But that puts them to 1 when Ryder dies now, because Alpine Guide eats a land on his way out. So they're at 1 with no board, and I'm about to put a threat into play. I have 2 Orcish Hellraisers in my deck that I can draw and just put lethal, suspend 1 lethal basically. Just don't pay the echo, it dies. And I have my big Hasty Dragon in the deck somewhere too. So they need to answer this, and then they need to fade several live draws for the rest of the game. Alright, they don't have anything because they would have just done it on their turn. Like, even if you have instant speed removal here, don't give me a chance to draw, something. I don't know. Like a pump spell to get around your burn spell or whatever. Yeah, they would have cast whatever they had on their turn. So they just have nothing, and they're dead. All right, let's get that forest in there again. Goat Nap is good against Carrion Feeder. It's not great against the Dragonheart. Dragonheart can't sack itself. We saw a mob, so they have 1 instant speed removal spell at least. Trying to decide if I want Reckless Charge or Goat Nap in this deck right now. Not sure if I do. There's not going to be time to Gambit. Like, we're both pretty scrappy red decks, so Reckless Charge is the kind of juice you need to swing a race. Gambit's too cute. It's out. It's arguable it should have never been in the deck to begin with. Are we going to see the rare Winding Way for lands? Or am I just going to play on 2 mana for a while? Anything's possible. Ooh, Tectonic Reformation. That will take over a late game if we get into one. Yes, they'll only draw spells later in the game. But based on the way our 2 decks look, I'm not sure how much time they're going to have to do something like that. Because we're both trying to just curve out and hurt each other. Or ransack the lab. I read that as take 3. Right, so they have a mountain up, and they been to swamp with ransack, so they're not looking for lands. So that swamp can be used to cycle for another a spell if they do have too many lands. I'm just gonna Winding Way for creatures here. 3 mana to cast most of the spells in my deck. And it's awkward that I have 3 of my most expensive 4 cards in hand right now. But 2 of them can cycle, and 1 of them benefits from Winding Way. Whether the lands go into play or into the graveyard, the dragon still likes it. Alright, so we binned 1 land and drew 3 cards. Have to go to discard here. So the Guardian, the dragon, will be great if we can ever get there. But the rest of these cards are all playable now. I'm definitely not discarding Ambusher or Minotaur or Pyrophobia, because those are all the best cards in my hand. I have a lot of ways to use 3 mana. Like if I can ambush and cycle Cyclops a couple turns in a row, they might just die. I think Reckless Charge might have been the real discard there. Yeah, Rank Officer is rough there because I had this master plan to dash Ambusher and then cycle Cyclops 2 turns in a row. And it's just gone. So I'm going to clear out the Officer. I'm not going to offer Treetop Ambusher up to a zombie token. I'm offering this trade here, though, to get them down into single creature mode so I can start cycling Cyclopses for big damage output. This dragon's also looking pretty bad here. Maybe I should have discarded that. I don't know. I guess it'll all depend on how long this game goes. If I ever get to 6 lands, that card's going to win the game on the spot, but that may or may not actually happen. Oh, Graveshifter. That's a powerful card, but it is only 1 card. So I can make it unable to block, and if I find a land in my draw or my cycle, I can crunch for 7. Oh, that's even better. Let's just crunch for 8 and save the cycle. Or this is 9, not 8. Woof. I definitely would have rather deployed a Spinehorn Minotaur this turn, though. I wish that was still in my hand. I should have discarded the dragon. Because if I get Minotaur down this turn and just have this double Cyclops ready to clear blockers for the rest of the game, and I have Dasher, or the Ambusher to pump the double strike creature. Yeah, that dragon should be in the graveyard. Learn from my mistakes, folks. So they're at 6, and I have a 4 power trample creature, and Reckless Charge, and Ambusher. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I can have an 8 power trampler in play next turn. There's the Rank Officer they regrew with Graveshifter. So if they double block my 8 power creature, they go 2, 1, and Ambusher kills them. So they need something that costs 1 red right now just to not die. So they could have like Magmatic Sinkhole, I guess, but I think that's about it. Right, they got 2 cards in hand. They didn't Sinkhole anything yet, and they had plenty of juicy targets. So let's light them up. Sand sprinting to victory. I guess Lava Dart would just end my entire life. I forgot about that one. Well, let's hope they don't have Lava Dart. Ah, we did it. Trophy hype. Thanks for watching, everyone. And make sure you subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Bosch and Roll, and I'll see you next time.